So there's very varying ways in which we are starting, as a community to leverage AI in our everyday tasks. Okay, wonderful. So let's take a look at how AI adoption is transforming organizations overall. And this is really important to understand what this means for tools such as Power BI or Microsoft Excel or any sort of digital BI tool that's out there in the market. So let's take a look at a few quick stats here, all right? So based on a study done by Stanford University, and this was a recent study this year, there was a surge in AI adoption from 2024, right? So just last year, 78% of organizations reported using AI at least in one business function, and that's up 55% from the previous year. All right, so this is a testament really. You can see in the chat that majority of us are starting to, at some degree, leverage AI in some way as a part of our functions, whether it's personal or professional. How about this one from McKinsey? Organizations, and this is a forecast and a prediction in terms of trends, where we're seeing trends within the AI platforms. 92% of companies plan to increase their AI investments over the next 3 years. And this is signaling, obviously, a strong commitment to AI integration. And I know there's a lot of trepidation about AI taking away jobs and so forth, but there is also the need for deep integration. So not looking at AI as a threat, but more as a tool that is going to help us to work more efficiently and more effectively, reducing errors. And lastly, the economical impact on AI, all right? We're looking at AI is expected to boost global economic output by up to 15 percentage points over the next decade, contributing significantly to productivity gains. Again, leaning back into this idea of working more effectively, being more productive, right? Leveraging AI as a tool. And what this does is it really allows Power BI and other tools out there in conjunction with Copilot to be at the forefront of transforming and enabling organizations to leverage AI specifically in the realm of analytics. And this is amazing for decision making and for ways in which we can accelerate the adoption of AI across our platforms. All right, so just a quick overview on what is Power BI and what is the integration of Copilot with Power BI. So Power BI, as you may know, is a business intelligence solution that is used to sort, model, and analyze, and also share reporting across the organization. All right, and this does this very cohesively by allowing us to import data from various sources, to model that data, to visualize the data, and to distribute it across multiple streams and channels within our organizations, both internally and externally. And when you match that with Copilot, Copilot is Microsoft's premier AI platform, and this is integrated across the entire Office 365 suite with other applications such as your web browser or in Microsoft Excel or within even Microsoft Azure for those that are on the programming arm. And really, if we were to put this in a nutshell, it accelerates the creation of reports. So if you're a novice user, you can quickly get up and running using some natural language querying to get your reports up and running and built relatively quickly. So let's take a quick moment here and look at the actual workflow for the Copilot and the Power BI integration. Right, so everything still resides within the Microsoft stack, of course. However, as of, I believe, earlier this year or late last year, the Power BI integration with Copilot is now available within the Power BI desktop. Right, and a little bit later, we're going to talk about the licensing. Right, we're going to demystify a few things about the licensing and clear up what is required for you to effectively run Copilot in conjunction with your Power BI projects. Right, so the workflow is typically you can access Copilot within the Power BI desktop. So all of your semantic models, all of your formulas, your visuals you're able to leverage that information using natural querying language to create reports, which we're going to see in our demo, but also within the Power BI workspace online as well. All right, so it extends across the entirety of the platform. Now, I want to talk briefly about the different personas where Copilot can be used within the context of Power BI. So there are sort of three personas that we see using this technology. Now, remember, this is still relatively new, and a lot of the features within Power BI and Copilot integration is still within the preview mode. All right, so something to keep in mind. The first persona or type of user would be your enterprise developers. All right, so your enterprise developers are typically your more seasoned, experienced data governance and folks within your IT department, your centralized BI team. And these users are typically leveraging Copilot in conjunction with Power BI for governing data models and for enterprise grade reporting. All right, so this is more the more steeped IT professionals and BI teams. The second type of persona is the self-serve user, all right? So the self-serve user is your typical sort of data savvy professional. So these will be like your analysts or your team leads who build reports for their own teams and departments, all right? And they typically reside outside of the IT department. And a few use cases for this specific persona would be, let's say an analyst wants to create a chart using Copilot for some using natural language query. So perhaps give me my top 10 profits by the year, just to quickly generate some quick insights that can be leveraged within a report or within another product. And the third type of persona that we would see using Power BI integration with Copilot is your business users, right? And your business users are your typical frontline decision makers and executives who consume report rather than build them. So these are not necessarily the report authors or curators, but they are the ones that are typically interpreting the insight and not necessarily creating visuals, all right? And a typical use case for this type of user persona would be maybe just using, again, natural language query to get an answer to what are my top sales for this week or something along the lines. And so when we go through the demo, we'll take some time and see how all of these different personas will plug right in to what we call the spectrum of creation experience versus consumption. And all of this is built right on top of the Power BI experience, which makes it extremely powerful. Pardon the pun. All right, from an AI-assisted analysis, Copilot in conjunction with Power BI is an amazing tool. All right, first of all, there's a lot that you can do. You can summarize underlying semantic models. You can create DAX. As of, I think, a recent update, you're now able to use natural language query to summarize and to glean insights from your report pages or from your report visuals. All right, there's also enhanced Q&A capabilities, and the list goes on and on. And so when we go into our demo, I'll be able to showcase some of these features that will help the AI assisted analysts to derive reports, create dashboards, and also synthesize formulas within the Power BI experience. Now, I always say this here to anyone who might be new to the integration or the idea of artificial intelligence in general, all right? And what I want to really stress here is the importance of understanding the limitations, all right? As I mentioned, a lot of the features are still in preview, which means it's sort of beta at the moment, so you have to still validate and vet the results. But some of the big strengths that you will find with using this integration is obviously it will save time and reduce complexity. There's a lot of trepidation for new users to leverage Power BI. It might be intimidating knowing how to write DAX or create reports. And so this gets you up and running. You can use natural language querying. You can use some canned suggestions to get you up and running with a report relatively quickly, as we will see. It supports for both novice and expert user, makes it key and easy for you to kind of onboard and get up and running. And also it's great for prototyping and just getting some quick insights, answering some quick questions. Now, where there are some limitations is you really need to understand the prompting. And if you've worked with any AI or generative AI technology, the key to a good output is how the prompts are positioned. And the same thing bodes for what we will see in Copilot with Power BI. Accuracy also depends upon the clarity of your data. And I really want to stress this point because a lot of folks I speak with and work with across very many domains, they think this is going to be the silver bullet that answers the problem to their messy data. Guess what? It's not, right? The same principle resides garbage in, garbage out. So it is imperative that you have a solid data semantic model, that you have best practices within the construction of your data, the source data that is, so that the models are able to read and to output the results as best as possible. All right. And the last limitation really that I want to highlight is that a lot of the visuals that are native within Power BI will not be able to leverage the use of Copilot. So there's a limited list, and you can find that on the Microsoft site. There's some white papers that speak about the charts and visuals that are sort of Copilot ready. All right, lastly here, before we dive into our live demo, just a Copilot readiness checklist, all right? Very important that if we do want to leverage Copilot as a part of our workflow, we need to understand not only the limitations, but what we need to actually get up and running. The first thing is, again, ensuring that your data model is optimized, okay? So this means having proper fact and dimension tables, having continuity and consistency within your data, ensuring that your data sources are well governed, okay? Another important piece here is you will need to enable this within your tenant, so you might need to get your, or you will need to get your IT folks involved to get that turned on within the master tenant. And also, for Power BI to take advantage of Copilot, you will need to have a Microsoft Fabric capacity, all right? And we'll come back to this a little bit later towards the end because this is something that's very important to understand. You may already have licensed for Copilot, and you might want to start leveraging that within the Power BI context. However, there is a necessity for a Fabric license. So if you're a Power BI Pro user or premium user, that will not be sufficient. You need a premium capacity, Fabric capacity, for you to take advantage of Copilot. And I'll show you that a little bit later. All right, so without further ado, we're going to dive right into our live demo. And the premise for our live demo is to give you a bit of an assortment of what can be done within Power BI with the Copilot integration. So we're going to look at 4 key areas. One is the chat-based or the QA data exploration. And then we'll look at how we can automate reports and visual creation. So creating whole reports by the simple use of a few prompts. And then we'll look at some more of the technical aspects for those who are more technical in nature. We'll look at how leveraging the Copilot experience can help with constructing DAX, DAX language or DAX formulas for your reports, enriching the capabilities. And also, lastly, we'll wrap things up by going through smart narratives and also insight generation. All right, wonderful. So let's dive right into it here. And as you can see, I have up here the demo worksheet that we're going to be using. We're going to be using the the Superstore data set. This is just a fictitious data set, and it's a point of sale extract from basically a retailer. They sell sporting goods and so on. And you can see here, it's your typical Excel table. We have information in regards to the year. We have the order number. If I can zoom in a little bit more, you can see we have some customer data here, some customer information. We also have, let's see here, we also have geographical information as well, which means that we can surface some of these insights onto a map. And then we have information that we can use, such as the sales and the quantity and some shipping information as well. All right, so everything we need to really construct a pretty robust dashboard or report. All right, and for those who have ever joined my Power BI webinar, we're typically using this exact same data set to build out a report from scratch. However, this time we are going to be leveraging Copilot to allow us to create reports relatively quickly so that we can share them across our organization with our teams or our stakeholders. All right, so I'm going to close out of this one here, and I'm going to launch the Power BI desktop, which I have. And so I've just launched basically the Power BI, a fresh instance of the Power BI application. Now, I'm not going to spend much time going through the interface. The goal here is to showcase, what can be done leveraging Copilot. All right. So the first thing you need to do whenever you launch the application is you need to sign in. Okay, so you need to sign in, and once you've signed in, you're going to want to come over here to File, and there's a few things administratively you need to do to turn on Copilot. So I'm going to go down to the options and settings. So right at the bottom here, where it says options and settings, I'm going to click here. I'm going to select options. And here I'll be presented with a few settings that I will need to ensure that I navigate through. So here you can see at the very bottom under the global, we have our Copilot. Notice that it says preview, which lets us know that this is still within a preview mode. It's still not in general release. And so with that, just something to keep in mind. So we're going to click on the preview. And here is where we will need to select the workspace where we have the Power BI Fabric capacity enabled. All right, so this is the key part here. If you don't have a Fabric enabled capacity workspace, you're not going to be able to take advantage of this. All right, so here I'm going to select my workspace. Because I'm signed in, it recognizes that I have my test workspace for today's demo. So I'm going to select on that test workspace. I've already set this up, so you would just need to click OK. And then OK again, and now it will point your Power BI instance to that workspace that has the premium capacity where you're able to leverage the Copilot application. All right, so now that that's complete, from the Home tab here, you'll see we have the Copilot icon. Now I am using the April version of the Power BI release, so I believe anything from January onwards, I believe should be good, but you're going to want to see this icon here, which is the Copilot icon. Now I'm going to go ahead and just click on that icon, and now I get my Copilot navigation window up and running here. All right. So here you can see I'm presented here once again with the notion that we're still in preview here. So just to make note of that. But we have three options here. We can create a new report page. And so some of these are just kind of out of the box suggestions, and we'll take a look at them. Here we can select suggest content for a new report, and we can answer general questions about our data. All right, so once we actually load data into the application, there's a few things that we can do for Copilot to leverage the information and to curate some reporting and charts for us. So that's the first thing we're going to need to do. Let's go and get some data. So I'm going to go over to my Home tab. I'm working with the Microsoft Excel. So here is that Excel file. I'm going to open my Superstores data set here. And I only have one table, which is the main orders table, which has everything I need. Now, typically, if you are working with multi-table or multi-dimensional models, you can certainly import that. The Copilot instance will support connected tables. Again, as long as your model is well constructed, it will be able to understand and read from various tables. So you're not just limited to one. All right, I'm going to go ahead and click on Load. All right, and now that is going to connect here for me. Perfect. So now that I have, if you take a look here to the right, you can see I have my data that's now loaded into the Power BI interface. And so I have all of my information. Again, I have my my category, city, my quantity, my profits, all the fields I need to basically build a report. So before we get into the prompting, let's take a look at what we can do just right out of the box. So this is without me specifying any prompts. We have some suggestions here right out of the box from Copilot. So I'm going to select the first one, which is create a new report. All right, so let's go ahead and click on that create a new report. You can see now it's going to generate here a quick summary. So what it's done is it's gone through my data and it's read through all of my fields and it's studied basically, and the algorithm is now returning back a recommendation, right? So it's telling me you've received the data schema, it's gone through, it's scanned the information, and it's now able to provide some suggestions, right? So it's asking me here, it's saying we can create a report that gives us our sales performance, customer insight, product analysis, shipping and delivery, and profitability. So you can see right out of the box, right, without me specifying a prompt, all it's done is just read through my data tables. And based on the fields and rows and categories and values, it's able to synthesize a recommendation for me. Would you like me to proceed? I'm going to just simply say yes. And now it's just going to do some work here. Now it's asking me again for, now it's saying, great, which topic would you like me to proceed with for the reports page? All right, now I can say all, but I can just select one by one. So I'm going to select just sales performance. I'm going to go ahead and say, let's start off with the sales performance. All right, and now it's just cooking this up. All right, and here we go. So now you can see right away, I'm going to just minimize this here so we can see a little bit better. So you can see it's basically given me a sales report. It's constructed an entire report for me, right? It gives me here a summary of my sales. It's even given me a title. Notice that it's even added here the title to the tab. It's added some formatting as well. So just really amazing, right? Just with a few keystrokes, I'm able to create something that looks just like this. So I have my sales here, my sales over time. You can see it's given me some, broken it down by the category. So I get a bit of segmentation here between my technology, furniture, and office supplies. And then I have some information on the region. All right, so just very quickly, I was able to build that in what, less than 60 seconds. So again, if you are a novice and you're not familiar with Power BI at all, a great way, it's a real turnkey solution where you're able to at least have a starting place to build out some reports. All right, now let's go back here into the window. You can see that it let me know, okay, we've created the report. Here's an outline. So I can say, show me more. And it's basically giving me a summary of what it's done, all right? So that's one way that we can create our reports. Now, as you can see here, the prompts, as you're going through and making prompts, that you can get a long running sort of dialogue here. If you go to the top, toggle to the top left, there's a clear chat option, which I think is pretty neat. So I'm going to clear the chat, and I'm going to move on to my second prompt. So that's the first one, right? We were able to create a report relatively quickly, right? Now I can say suggest content for a new report page, all right? So maybe I'm in a block, I'm not sure. I've maybe met with some of my stakeholders and I need to generate some ideas, right? I can certainly use this here, suggest content for a new report page. And this one allows me, again, it's going to scan through my data table and it's going to give me some recommendations here, all right? So here's a few suggestions you can create. And you can always edit these prompts as well, right? So you're not limited here. You can go ahead and if you wanted to edit the prompt, you can edit that prompt as well. But you can see here we have a few different selections. We can do customer analysis, right? So I can say, it's saying create a page to analyze customer segments over customer demographic, purchase behavior, and sales by segment. So I can certainly go ahead and click on create. And now it'll give me a new report page, right? Based on the recommendation, right? So these are just, again, right out of the box. These are some canned prompts that we can use to spin up some reports really, really quickly. So here we have a customer analysis. And just like before, you can see if we were to go down, it will give us the detailed information as to what it built, right? So your new report page outlines customer analysis. Here are some of the key metrics. So total sales by segment, profit by segment, and quantity by segment. And then these are the visuals that are created, and it gives you the information such as what is the makeup of that visual, right? So, and again, now that you have it, you can certainly modify this. So for more advanced or more intermediate users of Power BI, by all means, maybe you can just use this as a starting point. Right, this is great. I've used this with a lot of beginners who have just starting to use Power BI. And then this is a great way for them to really start to build their own reports or modify these reports until they get comfortable with building out their own. So you can certainly edit any of these components here. So I can change this out here if I wanted to do that. So you're not limited to what it's created. You can change these out. You could even use changes to a whole different chart if you wanted to. So again, these are just now components within the Power BI context of the dashboard that you can easily change accordingly, right? So again, you're not limited. So here, if I wanted to add, let's say, maybe the month, I can add that here as well, right? So I could create a bit of a hierarchy and that sort of thing. So again, really quickly, you can see how with relative ease, you're able to get some quick reporting up and running without any difficulty. All right. All right, perfect. So let's take a look here and let's give it some prompts. So we've talked about creating a report page, suggesting some report content for additional pages, but what about if I wanted to have my own prompt, right? So I'm going to go ahead and just create a new page for this one here. And here's where we can now supply Copilot with some information. So I have some pre-done prompts here that I'm going to use. All right. So the first one I'm going to use here for demo is, let's say I want to add or create basically a visual that gives me my top 5 sales by cities. Maybe I want to drill down to see where my sales are happening geographically. So I'm just going to add here a prompt in Copilot. So similar to what you would do with any generative AI. And I'm going to select send. And here you can see now, again, it's going to go through, it's going to scan through, and it will understand, because again, it understands the data. And so as long as my prompts are coherent, it should give me an output. So here you see that it's now given me, I've asked for the top 5 cities by total sales. So here it's given me this information. And what's great is you can find out, well, how did Copilot arrive at this? So again, I can expand on that and it will give me some metadata information on how it constructed this visual. So again, great for novice users and learners. Maybe you're new to Power BI. This is a great way. So it's almost teaching you as you go, right? So here, that puts a different spin on machine learning, I suppose. So here, you can say here, you asked for what is the top 5. Here's what I used. I used the city field. It recognized that I have a city field in my data and my sales, right? It's clearly labeled. And I've applied a filter based on the top 5 sales, okay? Now, here's where it gets really interesting. You can refine this as well. Remember, we're using some machine learning here, and you can refine this by improving sort of how it receives this information, right? So maybe sales, you can have some sort of another word or naming convention for sales within the context of your industry. Maybe you can use that to further refine the response. But we're not going to cover that today here. You can see now it's given me this chart, and all I need to do is click on Add to Page. Right? So I can add to page, or I can even expand on the chart as well here, and it'll show the chart in a kind of a larger view. But I'm going to just add it to my page here. So now you can see it's created this visual that I can work with. And what's great, it's even turned the data labels on for me. And if I were to go into the filter section here, you see that it is indeed giving me the top 5, right? Which is just really, really cool. All right, let's see if we can give it a few other prompts here. All right. I want to do here, I'm going to give it another prompt. I'm going to add a one at the bottom here. I'm going to continue on. So I'm going to ask it here, I want you to show me my customer segment profitability in a card visual. So you can also specify the visual that you want to use as the output. So here we didn't specify we wanted a bar chart, but it just selected the best sort of visual that will represent this information to the audience that according to best practice, which is pretty spot on, okay? But we can also dictate what type of visual we want. So here I'm specifying, I want this in a card visual, right? I wanna look at my customer segmentation profitability. Let's go and send that up. And now you can see here, it's taking a little bit more time. So again, there we go. So now I'm going to just expand on this view here, and you can see, perfect. This is my customer segment. So this is my consumer, corporate, my home office. Right, so here I can just preview it. And again, this is what I'd mentioned earlier. You always want to check and ensure that, the output and the results of what you're using with the natural language does make sense, right? Especially when you start to ask it some more complex grade of questions. So this looks pretty good to me. I'm familiar with the data, so I'm happy with that. I'm going to select Add to Page. All right, and so now I have my card visual here, and I can kind of just move it around, right, as I start to kind of build out my own version of my report. Okay, perfect. Let's go ahead and just do a few more, and then we'll move over to looking at the how we can use and leverage Copilot for DAX. All right, so here I'm going to add maybe one more. So I'm going to ask it here to show me, let's see here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select a new prompt here. So this here, I'm asking here to show me a line chart of my, let me zoom in here so you can see. So I want to say, show me a line chart of my total sales by month, okay? So here I'm specifying what visual I want. I'm gonna go ahead and send that through and let it work. But here's where we want to be very careful, again, with the prompt. We have to be, the more specific we use with the prompt, or the more specific we use when we enter the prompt, the better the results will be. So you can see here, I have this visual. I'm going to expand on it. All right, I'm going to add it to the page. But what's the first thing you may notice here, right? You can see that it's not giving me the right results, right? The actual the month, it's not in the right sort order, right? And even if I were to try and sort this information, so perhaps I go to sort axis here, if I sort by the month, right, you can see that it's indeed sorting it alphabetically and not numerically according to the sequence of months that we're used to. And so here is where it is really incumbent on the user, one, to understand the data, and also to make sure that the quality of your prompts are on point. So if we were to go and I want to say, well, this is not right, something's wrong here. How did you arrive at this? Remember, we have this sort of step-by-step log that shows us how it's creating this. So if I were to go here, and it's saying that it is using the month field, which is here, and the sales, right? So the sales we know is right, but the month is not necessarily correct. So now what we're actually looking for is we want the month based on either the order date or the ship date. We have some date fields that we want to use. So again, we have to be very careful. So we don't want to use this month field here. We actually want to use the month that is a part of this date. We want to do this based on the order date, all right? So what I'm going to do here is I am going to try another prompt, and I'm going to basically specify what month I want it to use. So here, I'm going to just drop the prompt here. So I'm going to this time correct the prompt. I say, show me a line chart for my total sales by month. I want to say not by month, right? But I want to say by month, I want to say by order date. Okay, so show me a line chart of my total sales by month, or let's just put by order date. Let's see that, by order date month. Okay, so I'm going to send that prompt through, and hopefully it understands this time that I want to use the order date as the month representation in my visual. So let's see what it comes back with here. All right, and sure enough, if I go back out, you can see here now, yep, that looks pretty good. All right, so now my month is sorting in the right order because it's now pulling the information from the right area. So here I'm going to select Add to Page. I'm going to get rid of this one here, right? And you can see here Let's make this nice and big. You can see it is now using the month from my order date hierarchy. So it recognizes that that's the month I need to use. So there's an example of where you need to supply it with more refined information for it to get the output that you need. All right. So there you have it, right? You can create, using different prompts, you can create a pretty good dashboard. And I can keep going on this, right? And add different elements here. But just to kind of give you an idea of how you can use the natural language prompting to create an entire report without having to even go into Power BI and build your own reports, right? So this is just really awesome stuff. Again, amazing for new users who might be a little bit intimidated by Power BI and all the capabilities. This is a great way to kind of get you going. All right, just doing a quick time check here, and I see time is flying. It always does when you're having a lot of fun. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend just a few minutes here looking at how we can create DAX. So for those users who are more advanced, and maybe you are leveraging Power BI to build your own reports, but maybe you are not as sort of savvy within the DAX, right? Creating your own language and so forth, or creating your own formulas. This is where, again, Power BI with the Copilot integration really comes in handy. All right. So let's take a look at a few examples on how we can use that. So again, if you're a more advanced user and you're building reports and you need some formulas here, I'm going to clear the chat. How can we go about and do that? So the first thing we can do is you can head over to the DAX window here, which is the DAX Explorer window. So again, this is going along the lines for, again, individuals who are more advanced, or maybe you're doing some DAX work, but you need some help, right? So here you can see we have the little Copilot icon right here, which lets us know that we're able to launch Copilot within this DAX model view here, all right? So here I have a few options that I can use. I can suggest a measure. I can ask it to explain. So again, this is fantastic if maybe I'm just starting to get my feet wet with building DAX, kind of getting into that intermediate sort of level of using Power BI, but I'm still not quite there. So having Copilot, as the name suggests, is having sort of a tutor by your side to help you along as you're building out and learning more about writing formulas, all right? So here I can do suggest a measure, and it's going to basically give me some suggestions that I can use and import right into my model. So right here, it's written this DAX for me, and you can see here, based on my data, suggested a new measure for DAX queries to further analyze and try them out, built on sustainability. All right. So here, I think what it doesn't do so well is it gives me a description, but again, it's a little bit cryptic, right? Displaying an average discount by total profit. This might not be something that you want, right? But you can certainly use this here. But if you want something more specific, by all means, you can just change that prompt, all right? So I'm not going to use that one here. I'm going to discard the query, and I'm going to just prompt my own here, okay? So I'm going to click on my Copilot, and here I'm going to take a look, and I'm going to just use this one here, one that I have. So I'm going to use this one here. Write a DAX measure to calculate profit margin as total profits divided by total sales. So this is, quite lengthy in terms of what I'm asking it to do. All right, I'm asking to give me my total profit margin, and I'm specifying what it should do, right, using the natural language. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and click on the go here. And now you can see that it's generated this query for me. Again, this is still, again, a relatively new feature. So here we want to go keep query. And when I select that, now I exit out of the the Copilot, and it's asking me now to import this or add this new measure, this new calculation to my data model. So I'm going to select update changes. Yes, I'm going to update changes here. And you can see now it's basically created this profit margin calculation. So a great use case for this is maybe your data does need to be enriched with calculations, but again, you're not savvy with DAX. So you can use and leverage the natural querying within Copilot to get you the output that you need without having to learn DAX syntax. Okay, this is the benefit here. So now that I have my profit margin, which is a new calculation, I'm going to head back over to my report view. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a card. So I'm going to add a card visual here. And the profit margin, this is the measure that we just created. I'm going to just add it into my card. So now you can see here my profit margin. And I'm going to go ahead and change this here so that it's giving me a percentage here. Okay. All right, beautiful. All right, so that's how you can use leverage DAX, right, to get you the information that you need. Again, this is a real game changer. One of the biggest struggles that I had as a new Power BI user was absolutely writing DAX. So anybody that's basically starting their Power BI journey, they have a leg up on me because now you have a personal assistant that can help you, with your DAX creation. Right. So again, that's how you can leverage Copilot within the context of Power BI to create DAX. Okay, our last demonstration here, right, is what if we want to do something a bit more comprehensive, right? Maybe we want to glean some insight out of our data. So for example, maybe I want to summarize and get a sort of text-based summary of what's going on within my sales or by my region or any element within my data set. So this is where we can now ask questions, and we can use what's called here the smart narrative. Now, this smart narrative has been around for quite a while, so it's that guy right here. I'm going to just go ahead and click on the smart narrative. And you can see here that the smart narrative, if I expand on it here, I'm going to expand on it like this. Now this visual has been around for eons here within Power BI, but now it's infused with Copilot. So now it's gotten a new lease on life. All right. Before it was very limited, but now we're able to leverage the underlying sort of algorithms of Copilot to derive some summaries. All right. So I'm going to use here my Copilot. Again, this is still in preview. So now I get just like I would previously. I have a few sort of canned prompts. So I can say, give it an executive summary, ask for likely questions from leadership. So this is kind of a prognosticator, trying to figure out the questions that leaderships will ask, and also create a bulleted list of insights. So let's go ahead and we can always prompt our own as well, right? Let's take a look at some of the canned ones. So give an executive summary, right? Summarize data, provide an executive summary indicating important takeaways, all right? All right, and what's great here is we can select what visual. So we have a few different tabs, right? And we can now select, well, what report do I want to run the summary from? I can do it against all. I can do it for specific pages of my report. So you have versatility as to where you want to apply this. So I'm going to go ahead and click on select all. And I'm going to select update. All right, so it's going to give me the entire report. And I'm going to zoom out here. And I'm going to select update, right? I think it's cooking here now. So I'm going to refresh that narrative here. And you can see here that it's working behind the scenes. All right, and now you can see, I'm going to just expand on this a little bit more so you can see here the results. And so based on the recommendation, we've asked it to provide us with an executive summary style page, right? Using smart narrative visuals, which is built right into the Power BI experience. Here, it's giving me a list of the summary based on each page, right? So it gives me in natural language, total sales accumulated to 1.8, and also significant peaks in daily sales include 4.3 thousand in January 28th, and so on and so forth, right? And you can see it's breaking it down based on the sales, customer segment. It's giving me some key highlights and insight that I can use as a summary. All right. So think about this now. If you have a report, maybe it's a weekly report and you need to provide a weekly summary. Again, this is quite rudimentary, but it's a great start on how you can glean insight from information that's already a part of your report without you having to go through and parse through all of that. Right. So this is fantastic. And what's great is you can see here, if I hover over, I can click on that little hyperlink. You notice that we have these numerical boxes. It's basically citing its own work, which is great. So now I can go and I can click on, let's see this one here. I can click on the number 7 here, and guess what? It'll take me right to the report. So now I can see it in context of the visual. It'll hyperlink me right back to my main page, or the page where it's citing that information from. And this is a great way to also validate what the summary is outputting. Okay. All right. So we're just about at time here. The last thing I'm going to do, because I'm going to allow a few minutes for some Q&A, is now that we have our report, I'm going to go ahead and save it. And I do want to showcase a few things in the service. So I'm going to say, yep, go with my demo. I'm going to replace this one here. All right, so now I have my reports. I'm going to go ahead and click on Publish. And I'm going to publish this to my test workspace here. And when we publish the report to the test workspace, we're going to be able to carry on with Copilot in the Power BI web. So you are able to create additional reports and dashboards and all the other features within Service. You can leverage Copilot with there as well. So I'm going to open this up here. So here is my report. Oh, wrong one here. Okay, let's see if I can refresh this one here. So this is my workspace. I'm going to go to my workspace here. So here's my demo report. We can launch that report here. And here's the report that we created in the desktop. All right. So just take a minute to load. All right. So there's my report, everything that I generated. And we can go ahead and you can see here that Copilot is also available here. So within the context of the web service, I can also go in and I can do additional work here with Copilot as well. All right, so that's another area that we can leverage it. So maybe once you've published this report, maybe your report users do not have access to the Power BI PBIX file, but they can certainly, if permissions are granted, they can leverage Copilot again to do a lot of that natural language query of the existing report and your underlying data set. Okay. Now, the one important thing that I want to underscore here is the licensing and how it works. All right. So for us to leverage Copilot, we need to have not only a Power BI license, right? That's just the general regular Power BI Pro or the Power BI Premium per user license, but we need what's called a Fabric capacity, all right? And a Fabric capacity, Microsoft Fabric is Microsoft's new analytics platform, and basically you will need to have a license for that because that is where the Copilot actually resides, right? They're leveraging it from the Fabric capacity. So to do that, you will need to ensure you're going to your workspace. Now, when you see this diamond next to the workspace, this denotes that this is a premium capacity workspace, all right? So that's an indication. So I'm going to go to that workspace. And to set this up or to validate that you have access, so not only will you need the Copilot license, but if you go to the workspace settings here, you'll see here we have licensing information. So I'm going to go to license info. And here I'm given some information here, which is I'm on a Fabric capacity. If I go to edit, you can see here, these are the standard options that you would typically see, which is the Power BI Pro or Premium. Again, if you are on these, even if you have a Copilot license for your O365, your Office 365, it will not work unless you have this premium capacity enabled, right? Very important here, team, that you will need to have. You can see here, mine is defaulted off by my systems administrator. So you will need to have this enabled, which is the fabric capacity. Any of the other capacities will not suffice. Fabric capacity is what you need. And for those who are looking for a trial, so you are able to get a trial for Copilot within Power BI. But again, it's very limited on what can be done. All right. And I don't think actually, as a matter of fact, you're not able to trial Copilot with Power BI. It's only through this fabric capacity. And I know sort of the Microsoft language is not very clear, but we spent quite some time going through this, and this is the only way that you can access the Copilot integration. So if you already have a fabric capacity, you will just need to get your administrator to turn that on, and you should be good to go. All right. And that has to be at the workspace level. So that has to be applied to a workspace. It cannot be your personal workspace. It has to be a created workspace. All right. All right, so that about wraps it up for our live demo. Just a recap, I've showed you how leveraging Power BI or Copilot within Power BI, you can generate whole reports. You can also curate your own by using the natural language query. For more advanced users, perhaps you want to create DAX, or maybe you want to do some further data refinement. You can leverage Copilot there as well as using natural language query for AI insights and summary. All right.